this gene in us, this worship gene, which was inserted into the human genome. We know this now because scientists have actually found the worship gene. You can turn it on and they can turn it actually off. What? Yes, we have a worship gene.
Worship gene.
That's right. And so it makes us want to worship something outside of ourselves, when in true reality, we should find the power inside. And this was inserted by the Anunnaki. That's my hypothesis, I should say, on this one.
People often ask me, what do I think about Billy Carson? This is why I always say that I'm 50-50 on Billy Carson. And it's relative to the conversation. On this one, I'm about 50-50 on Billy. Now, on this one, I'm about 70-30 on Billy Carson. 70% in disagreement, 30% on agreement. And let me explain why. So he is claiming that the Anunnaki, in their creation of man, and if you know that story, you can get that either from reading the Atrahasis, the Enuma Elish, or the Epic of Gilgamesh. Those are your primary sources for it. He's expressing, they express in that story that the Anunnaki, in their creation of man, that Enki and Enlil and Neharsag and Anu, that they were in their construction of man, that a worship gene was incorporated into the system of man in order for man to be able to be submissive to the Anunnaki. Now, the interesting thing that this is not only a Anunnaki story. If you read some of the stories of Ifa, they will say that I believe Oshun or Oramare, one of the two, put something in the water to dumb man down from his true height of spirituality so that he would worship those guys. Quetzalcoatl supposedly sprayed something in the air in order to dumb down man's spirituality so that man would be in worship of Quetzalcoatl. So it's an interesting theory that you can string together because there are other cultures that were not in contact with one another that came up with something sort of similar about a god spraying something in the air or putting something in the water. And in this case, changing the genome of man and making man submissive to gods, being willing to worship the gods. Now, all that being said, you would think that some scientific proof or evidence would demonstrate that. So what Billy Carson is talking about is that geneticist Dr. Dean Hammer, he conducted a study where he was watching what the VMAT2 gene does in the body, in the mind. This transporter, this monoamine transporter, and I'm probably saying that wrong, moves serotonin and around through the brain. It moves dopamine through the brain. When the brain is experiencing certain things, it allows for basically the happy juice to spread through your brain so that you feel happier. That's what dopamine does. That's what serotonins do. Now, as a practitioner of tapping, if you know how to meditate and tap right behind the ear, right there on that little bone right there, and through tapping and meditation, you can cause the release of dopamine and serotonin into your brain, and you can get your own self some happy juice, right? There are other areas of tapping where you can get some happy juice flowing. As part of a meditational practices, tapping on the third eye and tapping the serotonin in deep levels of meditation help your brain to focus more. And as they say, the dopamine and the serotonin is released. So you have a higher chance of having visions, going so deep into meditation that you have visions as if you took some shrooms or something. But the problem with Dr. Hammer's experiment is that he only took 2,000 people. 1,000 of them were heavily devoted, consistent practitioners of religion. They already believed in a God, and they actively prayed on the daily. They went to church. They did all the stuff, and it was all Christian. And so he saw that when they would pray and when they would do their rituals and all that, that they had a higher release of serotonin and dopamine in their brains, and it made them feel happier, and they had a more optimistic look on life. They felt like they had a purpose in life. And then when he looked at the other 1,000 people, only about 243 of those people exhibited the same traits as the ones who were very, very religious. These people didn't go to church all the time. These people didn't pray all the time. They only prayed for the most part when they needed something in their life. And that's when they would see these kinds of things. They weren't as optimistic in life. So he concluded in his book, the God Gene, and even though he admits that that's not a good title, it was too big of a title, too open of a title, that those people were less optimistic in life. They didn't feel that they had as much of a purpose in life. So what he really demonstrated when you dig down into the depths of it is that if a person is walking around and their life is good and they're thinking good thoughts and they expect good things to happen to them, that they have higher levels of serotonin and dopamine that drops in their brain when they're doing something that makes them feel purposeful in life and giving them their happiness in life. This is something that anyone can accomplish no matter what religion or non-religion that you believe in or that you don't believe in. I myself am a very optimistic person. I do not like being around negative people. I do not like being around negative situations. I find them quite irritating. I try to avoid them. I like to be optimistic. As I said on the live today, and we go live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. As I said to them on the live, I will disconnect from people who are constantly talking about negative things or pointing out negative things. I will either change the subject or I will just stop listening or remove myself, period. I do not believe in this God. I do not pray to this God. I do meditate, but I don't meditate towards a God. I look inward, as he said, and that's the 30% that I agree with him, that we need to look inward to find our spirituality, inward to find our purpose, inward to find our divinity, inward to find anything you want in your life. You got to start inward. And so in going inside yourself, which is the greatest undiscovered country, this is where you find everything you need. I learned about tapping probably around, I think it was somewhere around like 2002, somewhere around in that time frame. And even in time frames where I don't feel as happy as I normally am, I might sit there and tap and meditate and focus on the good, the great things that are happening in my life, the great things that are in my life, the great people, the great places, the great things, what I enjoy on a daily basis, my great cigars that my wife rolls. I focus on those things and the happy juice flows. So, for the meal price of free on the free, all you have to do is learn how to meditate and tap, and you too can have some happy juice coming straight from your brain, either from the pineal gland or right from the centers of where the serotonin is released. Allow your VMAT2 to make your life better so that you can become more optimistic and obtain the things in life that you truly desire. By simply tapping and meditating, you can get those things as well. Do you have to buy a book? No. Do you have to go to a class? No. Do you have to go to a seminar? No. You can do it for the free. Just take your time, learn, and you will eventually get there yourself. But if you do need help, I'm always here. So y'all have a great day, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.